Hi, you're sewing with Cody. In today's video, we're working on the Bernina 3 series, specifically the Bernina 335, but this applies to pretty much any of the Bernina 3 series. And in this video, it's just an overview of the Bernina 3 series. It's a wonderful little machine. Excellent entry-level Bernina machine, true Bernina machine through and through. Wonderful, solid machine. So, quick overview. So with the Bernina 335, this is the current lineup's higher end. So this is the highest in the 3 series. And before this one, you have the 325. And that's pretty much it. There's just those two left in the Bernina 3 series. If you're familiar with the Bernina 380, it's almost identical. So here we have our speed control. Now, with the Bernina 3 series, unlike all of our other series, this speed control only regulates the speed when you're using your push start button, which we'll go to next. So this does not regulate your speed when you're using the foot pedal. And here is the Bernina 3 series foot pedal. So the next button is our start-stop button. So this button will power the machine just like your foot pedal, and the speed the machine will go is whatever you have it set to right here with your slide bar. So this will start it, and this will stop it. A quick demonstration. Seeing is understanding. So we'll start slow, and we're just on a regular straight stitch. So you push it, and you see there's no foot pedal plugged in. So the next button is the reverse, and this works just like when using the foot pedal. So we're gonna press the stop for the start-stop. The next button is your reverse, and as you just saw, you just press and hold it while you're pressing the foot pedal or using your start-stop button, and it will sew backwards as long as you're holding this down. The next button here, this is our needle up, needle down. So this does two things. So this changes the stopping position of the needle. So currently you can see the needle stopped up because that's what we have it set to, is to stop up. So if we want it to stop down, we stop sewing, you just press the button, and you see on the screen the needle stops down. Also, if you press and hold this button, the needle will go down, or if you press and hold it, the needle will come up. So you don't have to manually bring up your needle or bring down your needle. The next icon is our pattern end. We'll be using this in other videos. So this, when clicked, you'll see it show up on the screen. So when you have this selected, it will finish that pattern and it'll stop. So it just allows you to sew one complete pattern, and it does stop automatically. The one thing about this icon is you need to make sure you deselect it when you're done using it. Because if not, with like a straight stitch, it will just take 2 stitches because that's its full pattern, and then it will stop. So you'll make sure you deselect that. I get that question a lot, why their machine is only taking 2 stitches and it stops. So the next icon is your mirror image. So this is something that's not found on the Bernina 325. So like I said, this is a 335. So one of the main differences is the 325 doesn't have this. So this is our mirror image. So the mirror image is, so if we're working with one of the more decorative stitches, like say the hearts. So this is the normal direction the heart will stitch out. So if you click the mirror image, you'll see it show up on the screen. So that means that design will then flip this way. So the rounded parts of the heart, which would be considered the top, will now be stitched this way. And that's what the mirror image is. So the other icons or buttons we have on the screen here are stitch width, which are then controlled by this number bar up here. So if we make that design wider, you'll see those little dashes move over to say like the 4mm mark. So the next one will actually jump down here. This is your stitch length. So we've got stitch width, which is the width, stitch length, which is the length, how long those stitches are going to be or how far apart they'll be. And that's controlled here. Well, it's controlled by these buttons, but you'll see it here. So say if we make this much longer, you'll see those tick marks increase. Now, one thing to pay attention to, actually you don't have to, it's not the end of the world, is, so if you want to know what the default setting for that particular stitch is, see where it's blinking right there? That is the default stitch length for this particular stitch. Stitch 1 is your straight stitch. And also you can see up here in your stitch width, see how at the very beginning it's blinking? That's because the stitch width of a regular straight stitch is just 0. So it's because it's sewing straight. So now we've made that a zigzag. So the middle buttons here, this is your needle position. And this is something you'll find on every single Bernina, is that we are able to change the needle position for every single stitch. The only exception would be is when we're working with some of the decorative stitches by default. They're already 5.5 millimeters wide, and all of the 3 series are 5.5 millimeters stitch width, so the widest our design can be is 5.5 millimeters. So that would be the exception, is if we choose a default stitch and it's already 5.5 millimeters, and we can't move the needle position because we can't move it around, but we can make it smaller and then move it. But that's our needle position indicated by these dots up here. So see, right now we're in the center. So if we move it over to the left, we can see it move over to the left, or if we move it over to the right, and you'll physically see your needle move. It'll move over to the right or over to the left if the needle is out of the fabric. So other icons here, these are our direct stitches. So these are a lot of our utility stitches. So if we want to go to a zigzag, we just press 2. If we want to go to a wave stitch, we just press 4. And it will tell you on your screen right here if a specific stitch requires a specific foot. Like so for our overlock, it's telling us to use stitch 4. I'm sorry, stitch 2. Oh my goodness, foot number 2 for stitch 3. And like for our buttonhole, it's telling us to use our foot number 3. And we have a video that goes over how to select the other stitches and whatnot. And the same thing here. So here we have our memory function, so you can combine designs, which we show in a video, and our alphabets. So you can stitch out different alphabets. You've got 2 different style fonts, which you can see change there. And we showed that in another video as well. Also we have here, so all the Berninas come with a slide-on table. And to take that slide-on table off, you just push that little button, it releases it, and it slides right out. I get a lot of questions about what this little knob's for. This is actually what holds on the slide-on table. And that's when we press our button, that's what we're releasing it from. So to put it back on, it just snaps into place. But I'm gonna take it off because we're gonna go over to the next thing. So with the Bernina 3 series, we're using the CB hook. So that gives you a metal bobbin case with a metal bobbin. So it's a very strong machine. But because many of the components of the Bernina are metal, it does require oiling. Just like your car. You change the oil in your car. Periodically, you should make sure you oil and lubricate your machine. Up here, let me move it up, I'm sorry. Up here's our bobbin winder. So the Bernina machines, you can hear it winding. So the Bernina machines have a separate bobbin winder motor. So you can actually wind the bobbin and sew at the same time. But what's nice is I don't have to press on the foot pedal. I don't have to engage or disengage anything other than pushing this over to be able to wind a bobbin. And that's the case for all the current model machines, which are nice. You have your horizontal spool pin. So we have our horizontal spool pin, our tension, which the red line represents the default tension, which is around 4. We have our vertical spool pin, which is on the side, great for using twin needles. And of course your stitch card, which can come off during transport. But those are all the stitches that come or that are available on the Bernina 325. And so we've got a multitude of thread cutters. We've got one on the side here. We've got one in the bobbin area here. And then we also have one up here, which you'll see that in the bobbin winding video. And of course your hand wheel on the side. Something else that's also really nice about the 325 is it does have the Bernina freehand system. So the Bernina freehand system is the metal bar that allows you to lower and raise your presser foot without having to reach around to lower or raise it. And it goes in this hole right here. You'll see that on many of the other videos that I have on the YouTube channel. So there's one more thing. Actually, there's a whole bunch of things, but I'll try and cover just a few more. So if you're not familiar with the Bernina, all of the additional feet for the Bernina 3 series, so all be full shank feet. So if you purchase any of the 100 different feet and accessories for the machines, they're going to be full shank, like this number 39. However, the feet that come with it, aside from the automatic buttonhole foot, they're snap-on feet. And so the only snap-on feet that are available for this machine are the ones that come with it. You can't buy those separately because all the true Bernina feet are all snap-on. But so all these machine have a full shank foot, which allows you to put it on. There's no screws, no screwdrivers required, especially when you're changing some of those more complicated feet like a walking foot. And also all of our stitch plates pop right off. So this machine comes with a 5.5mm stitch width plate, but there also is a 0mm stitch plate available for it, which I do recommend, especially if you are a piecer. It just makes life so much easier because there's only enough room for the needle to penetrate through the machine, and it doesn't pull down any fabric because there's just no space. All right, well, that's a quick little overview of the Bernina 335, and the Bernina 325 is very, very similar. It just doesn't have quite as many stitches, only one alphabet, but it's a very similar machine and an excellent machine. But the Bernina 3 series is a great addition to your Bernina lineup, especially as a travel machine, because all the Bernina machines use all the same accessories, which is nice, with the exception of some of our more advanced feet, like our dual feed feet. Other than that, I hope this video helps answer any questions you have about the Bernina 3 series. Otherwise, happy sewing.